All right, folks, it is time for round number 4 of the Rampage Coffee Company IndyCar Series presented by the Canadian E-Motorsports Network. It's the IndyCar Classic, and we're deep in the heart of Texas at the virtual Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas, as AJ Knickel looks to continue his incredible run to start this season. Picked up his 3rd straight win to begin the year last week, the Grand Prix of Long Beach. And as a result, we'll see it in the standings here momentarily. Nichols opened up his lead to 41 points over second place Darcy Ford. And Michael Dimitrov, the birthday boy, completes the top 3 and an all-Atlanta Canadian top 3 at 172 points, 46 back of the lead. And in the manufacturer's battle, as one might expect, with AJ Knickel driving a Chevy, Ryan Gibson right there in... not sure why Gibson was listed on that side. Anyway, Chevy leading the manufacturer's battle over Honda, as Michael Dimitrov is the first guy that we're going to take a peek at in this session. Again, he is the birthday boy. Usually drives the number 19, as you've seen in the previous series, but he's the number 22 in this one. And right now, he's just 18 1,000ths of a second back, or correction, he was. Dimitrov sets the fastest lap, 1 minute 50.399 around this 3.4 mile circuit. And that puts him 0.8 of a second up on Dan Cudmore, who's now 3rd. As cutting into 2nd, I'd have to get the name on that, admittedly. Again, I've been off and on here for a couple of weeks, so I'm still kind of figuring everybody out. I am back to full health, though, after a bit of an issue there last week, and very grateful to Mason Murray for filling in. But, of course, my name is Jordy Caraher, and I'm happy to be back on the broadcast this week. As we continue to watch Dimitrov, he's heading down that long straight here that is kind of a defining feature of Circuit of the Americas. And again, he enjoys a 0.7 of a second lead here in this one, with about 3 minutes remaining in the qualifying session. And it is Marcus Snow that is in 2nd. So we'll go ahead and check in on the number 14 out of North Carolina here real quick. Matter of fact, there he is. And Snow getting it a little bit wide there. And matter of fact, not sure if that was a glitch or what was going on there, as he's appearing to be coming out of pit lane here once again. But we did see him on track just a moment ago. And it'll be the same deal with Ryan Gibson here, as it looks like he's making his way back out. 2 minutes to go in the session. And Gibson currently 5th, I should say, on the charts, as AJ Knickel, oh my gosh, there's your series leader, and there's why. A near 3-second gap between himself and Michael Dimitrov. As he finally got a lap in, you can see on the race feed there on the right, he had a couple that were invalidated, but that number 20, he's found his lines, and he is absolutely flying around this circuit. So, as much as we say anything can happen, and in the words of Murray Walker, anything can happen, and it usually does, but if AJ Knickel is able to keep it on the road, as I say that, he runs wide. If he's able to keep it on the road over the course of the race, it could be a battle for 2nd here, if we're going to be completely honest. And one of those guys battling for 2nd would be the guy who's 3rd in the championship right, or 4th in the championship right now, Dan Cudmore here in the number 2. And just completing that climb up that hairpin, up onto this long straightaway here at COTA. As, yeah, we've got 13 on the board right now in terms of participating in the session. I think Corbin McCauley was there, but he picked up a DQ at one point, I think for hitting someone in the pit lane by the looks of things. As we'll see if Dan Cudmore is able to make a move up the board. Again, currently fourth, with both AJ Knickel and Michael Dimitrov in pit lane. Marcus Snow still out there on track. And right now, the 2 is running in fourth as he comes through the final couple turns here on this lap. And this will be his final lap, or lap attempt, I should say, as the session's officially complete. And he does not improve by the looks of it on his time. And so we'll go a little bit further down the board. We'll just see if we got guys looking to complete laps. Darcy Cudmore would be one of them, driving the number 35. And Darcy running a little bit wide here on this lap. Currently 7th on the board right now, as he brings it through that final turn. COTA, one of many tracks here in the IndyCar Series that are getting a second run and a second game within the Canadian E-Motorsports network. Of course, Watkins Glen and NASCAR did that already, having done that in NASCAR, and now, of course, appearing in Project Cars already. Long Beach was a debut last week. But Circuit of the Americas, it's the first and I believe the only one that's going to be making the jump from Formula One over to IndyCar. In the workings of our series, of course. As meanwhile, Darcy Ford, he snuck up the board there with his final lap. Minute 49.881 to grab second. And again, we're just waiting for this session to finish up, but it looks like it's, well, it doesn't even look like it is AJ Knickel on pole, as the qualifying session has officially come to an end. And there you see what that final chart looks like. You got Knickel on pole, Ford second, Snow there in third, Michael Dimitrov, again, happy birthday to Dimitrov. I don't know if the age equals his 2 car numbers, 19 plus 22, but happy birthday all the same. And again, single file start, just with the fact that we've only got the 14 drivers running here. So again, it's Knickel on pole, Ford in second, Snow third, Dimitrov fourth, Mike Marini rounds out the top 5. Dan Cudmore will start 6th, Ryan Gibson there in 7th. He'll have Jason Butler right behind him in 8th, Darcy Cudmore there in 9th. Cody Cudmore starting in 10th. Then you got Ivan Reynolds in the number 18 there in 11th, Scott Kellum in 12th, Ty Higginbotham 13th after picking up a 1-place grid penalty. And then you got Corbin McCauley, whose qualifying efforts were invalidated or disqualified from the session, I should say. And as the drivers make their final adjustments here and get ready to go out for their pace lap, let us go ahead and take a closer look at this beast of a circuit known as Circuit of the Americas. And again, 3.4 miles on this particular layout. We are using the GP layout here for those who are wondering, the official one that's seen in Formula One, and certainly the longest of the track layouts here at Circuit of the Americas. And so, as we go ahead and do that, I'm just going to try and bring up an old lap description here as we go along. And let's just see here as they take off. And there you get a good look at what the start will look like for the drivers, actually. It's a steep climb up to that opening turn, and then it's a sharp descent and heavy braking there on the downhill. Then you'll be picking up speed as you go. Matter of fact, let's take a closer look. So again, you got that steep climb there off the start-finish line into turn 1. Sharp left-hander going downhill. Now you're coming into a rather tricky opening section here of this circuit. It'd be the S's. And you got a nice connected series here of about 7 turns here. Turns 3 through 9 would be part of that complex. And right around turn 7 would be the end of sector 1. And that'll be the turn we just passed through. straightaway into hard left-hander. And then you got yourself yet another long straightaway. Again, kind of the defining feature here at Circuit of the Americas, this long straight from turns 11 to 12. And it goes without saying, this will be where the drivers hit their highest speeds over the course of the race. And again, a long braking area into turn 12. Hard to get down to speed to make that sharp lefty. And from there, another short run into turns 13 and 14, kind of a double right-hander here. Then you got a quick left going back through 15 and 16. And you're through 16 here now. You get into effectively a triple right-hander here at Circuit of the Americas. So that's turn 18 we just went through, and then 19. And my mistake, that's 19 that you just went through, and there's the off into the pit straight before the final left-hander. Turn 20 brings you back onto the main straight. And again, we saw the pole time come in 147, the majority of the field in the 150s, somewhere in that ballpark. And it's going to be a 30-lap run here for the drivers tonight. As Knickel leads them through the final couple turns. Matter of fact, let's see if we can go ahead and get ourselves a track map up here, just to see where everybody is. And indeed, they are coming through the final turn. And certainly a familiar sight over the first 3 weeks of this season, that number 20 leading the way. And here we go. We got some lights. Lights are green. Let's go. And making the move early is Darcy Ford, trying to get the inside line into turn 1. But Knickel's going to be just too fast, although he does run wide out of the turn. And Ford's going to take the early lead here. So again, a little bit of a wide entry there from AJ Knickel. That's going to give Darcy Ford the very early lead here as the drivers come through the S's for the first time. As we'll go ahead and put some game audio on this. There we go. Now we're truly in the Indy spirit. And Darcy Ford, again, leading the way here in that number 3. He's going to have that 20 breathing down his neck all the way through this lap, though. And coming into this back straight, this could be a highly competitive battle. Ford goes wide. Thought Knickel may have had an opening there. But it looks like it's the 3 who's going to come out with the lead here as the drivers make their way down this straight for the first time. And Ford with a nice clean entry into 12. But again, AJ Knickel right there behind him in second, about 0.3 of a second back. Marcus Snow holding on to third. And Dimitrov's there in fourth. Mike Marini, the guy ultimately losing out here at the start as he's fallen down to 12th. Corbin McCauley with a great start, moving up from the back of the field to 8th. Of course, for those who watched season 1 of our Formula 1 series, I believe it was Corbin McCauley who took the race right here at Circuit of the Americas. So certainly a guy who knows how to make his way around this 3.4-mile circuit. And now Knickel trying to get by on the inside just as Darcy Ford did him off the start. A reminder, this is only lap 2, folks. So Knickel with the inside line this time. Ford outside, but he'll have the inside line coming into 2, excuse me. And in doing so, retains the lead. Great battle here in the opening lap plus. And Ford looking like he's holding on through the S's here. Keeping that number 3 Pennzoil machine well oiled, so to speak. Number 3 Chevy. And of course, it would be a couple of Chevys battling at the head of the field right now, as Ford takes turn 11 comfortably. Gets a good exit, which should give him some speed out of 11 onto the straight. Meanwhile, some battling there between Snow and Dimitrov for third. There are a couple seconds adrift to this battle, but they're going to be highly competitive all on their own as well, as we'll go back to that battle here as soon as the camera gives us a good angle. Snow holding on to the position right now. Birthday boy looking for a present in the form of a top 3 placement. But nothing doing right now as the 14 out of North Carolina, I do believe, will get the clarification on the other side. I know it's one of the Carolinas. And obviously it's a 50-50 shot there, but obviously it would go without saying. Nobody wants to be considered from the wrong place. And the right place for you to be is rampagecoffee.com, particularly if you use that code 519ERACING. Get yourself 10% off your order as we go to lap number 3 now. And it looks like Knickel's trying to get that inside positioning on Ford again, but Ford will have the inside line coming out at turn 2. Almost wheel to wheel here. Ford's going to hold on to position, and again, this is lap 3. If this is what we're looking at for 30 laps, folks, man, oh man, this is going to be fun. As we see a number of cars, including AJ Knickel, it should be noted, that's picked up some damage in the early going. Certainly some close racing here throughout the board, really. As we'll go right on board with our race leader, Darcy Ford. And matter of fact, let us pull the roof cam up on the number 3 as we get a look of what it's like to go down this main straight, or back straight I should say, turns 11 to 12 being connected. And Ford taking a nice clean line, hard inside on that left-hander, blocking off any potential opportunity there for the 20 to get by. And again, Ford holding on to the lead very early on. But again, I would fully expect this to be a battle all the way through between 2 highly skilled, highly competent drivers in the Canadian E-Motorsports network. And again, Ford holds on to it. Coming through turn 20 now, back onto the start-finish straight. This is where AJ Knickel's had his opportunities, and we'll see if the 20's able to close up again. And indeed, he is right on the back. Might have a look on the inside, not close enough that time around. Darcy Ford holds the position on to lap 4 now. And Ford with a good job closing off that outside line. And he gets the optimal line going back into the S's. And again, it's just back and forth, left and right, but Ford spins, he loses the back. And he was holding on so well, but that is going to be a compromise here, unfortunately, for the number 3, as he's going to fall down to 7th as a result. Ryan Gibson right on his tail as he gets back up to speed. And I would not be surprised if we find Darcy Ford down in 8th momentarily, although Ford and Gibson certainly no strangers on the track either. Ford looking to do some damage control. Gibby trying to get in on the inside. And he's done exactly that. Ryan Gibson up into 7th place. Darcy Ford, after losing it through the S's, down into 8th. And as a result, again, it's a familiar face at the head of the board in the form of the number 20 of AJ Knickel. That proud green and gold number 20 Chevy, navigating its way expertly around Circuit of the Americas here in the early going. But again, some great early lap battles between the 3 and the 20. Unfortunately, Darcy Ford just kind of had the back step out on him in the S's there on lap 4. And as a result, AJ Knickel's got some clear track ahead as he begins lap 5. And he finds himself 5.5 seconds up on 2nd place Marcus Snow, but Knickel loses it too. Out of turn 1, AJ Knickel loses it. Nobody's infallible here, and Marcus Snow, as a result, is going to take the lead. Knickel down into 4th after setting that blistering lap, 1 minute 51.216. But that's the top 2. Both had issues here at Circuit of the Americas. And again, your new leader now is Marcus Snow. But he's got second place, Michael Dimitrov right there on the back. Dan Cudmore now in third. 0.8 of a second separating 1 through 3 here on lap 5. And Snow leads the way through turn 11. And again, Knickel, as a result of the spin, he goes down into 4th. 2.5 seconds back of your leader, who you see right here, Marcus Snow. But a very eventful start to this IndyCar Classic here at the Virtual Circuit of the Americas. I thought Snow might have been going sideways there too, but he holds on to it here for the time being. And it's a Honda at the head of the charts right now. But Snow runs a little bit wide just as I say that. Dimitrov might have a lane, and in fact, he has taken the lead. And again, that's just a little bit of a wide turn in from Marcus Snow. Just couldn't quite get it in tight enough. And so Snow down into second. Dimitrov is your new leader. And Dan Cudmore there in third, but again, his mirrors are full of green and gold right now as we go on to lap 6. Michael Dimitrov, the birthday boy, leading them up the hill into turn 1. Might be just a matter of trying to keep it on the track and keeping it clean, kind of like I said in qualifying. That is going to be the answer here. And we've already seen it with Darcy Ford and AJ Knickel both spinning from the lead. And suddenly this race is wide open, but I don't know if Snow had something go on there, but suddenly he's down into third. Dimitrov is your new race leader. Dan Cudmore up into second. Not sure if there was contact there between Snow and Dimitrov, but now it's the 22 that's on top of the board. That top spot might be cursed here in the early going. Dimitrov, though, with a 1.7 second lead over Dan Cudmore. As AJ Knickel, you can see just kind of in the background there, battling with Snow for third. Those two will go back and forth as Dimitrov will try and sneak past Ivan Reynolds to put him a lap down. And it looks like he got through without too much incident here. And obviously a difficult place to do it, coming through turns 13 and 14. But now coming through the triple right-hander here into 19, Dimitrov now has that clear air to himself. And yeah, the leader's having a hard time getting around Reynolds here. Again, it's a bit of a tough spot to make that move. Dimitrov's made it work. And as a result, you see that gap absolutely climbing. 3.7 seconds now over second place Marcus Snow, as Dan Cudmore went into pit lane from second place, which would certainly explain the increased gap. But again, Dimitrov with a little bit of breathing room here, as you can see on the track map on the right. See, doesn't really have much lap traffic to worry about either. Well, none really. The nearest car ahead is coming through turn 20, and Dimitrov is through turn 10. So right now the gap is 4.5 seconds between Dimitrov and AJ Knickel at the top of the charts. And let's see if we can get a little bit of a battle going here. We've got Darcy Ford and Darcy Cudmore as soon as the cameras focus on them. Coming down the straight, battle for 5th place here. Ford, of course, led the opening few laps. And it looks like they're coming up on Reynolds now, the two Darcys, as it's Darcy Cudmore trying to get into that battle, trying to get himself into the top 5. Ryan Gibson lurking there as well. 1 second separating 5 through 7 on track. And Ford's going to make the inside move. I think Reynolds may have gone deep there just to make sure Ford could get by. And we'll see how long it takes Darcy Cudmore and Ryan Gibson to navigate the lap traffic here as well. But you can already see the difference it's making. 3 seconds there between Ford and Darcy Cudmore as Dimitrov is pitted from the lead. AJ Knickel back at the head of the field. But Knickel, I don't believe, is pitted yet, so he'll have to come in, see how much ground he can actually make up here now that he's got the open track. Certainly capable of some blinding speeds here in these Indy cars. Gap at the head of the field, 4.5 seconds between Knickel and Snow. As it looks like we've got our first retirement of the day in the form of Corbin McCauley in the number 5. As Knickel runs wide out of 11. And again, we're kind of in that hit window now where things are starting to cycle through a little bit. And yeah, drivers are starting to find their places again. Dan Cudmore might have a mirror full of yellow here in a moment. You got the 2 on track, but he's got the 27 of Ty Higginbotham trying to breathe down his neck. About 2 seconds separating 7th and 8th right now. And man alive, those tires, they're not holding on here for the number 2, or perhaps it's something else there. It looks like he's taken a couple of turns wide in the last couple of seconds. But again, we'll see if Ty Higginbotham there in the background is able to make up some room, as again, Cudmore slow out of that turn. But Higginbotham takes it fairly slowly as well as Knickel comes in for his pit stop. I would imagine it would be the only pit stop of the day here for the number 20. Again, we're on lap 9 now. Marcus Snow inherits the lead with Knickel in pit lane. Looks like a fairly solid stop here for the 20, it has to be said. Although stationary for an extra couple seconds, certainly. And again, it's Marcus Snow who inherits the lead of this race. And again, we'll have to see how the timing shakes out here to see where that 20 rejoins. But again, it's Snow kind of driving his own race right now. And again, very early on, in case you happen to miss it off the top, Knickel started on pole, but Darcy Ford took over the lead out of turn 1 on the opening lap. Held that for about 4 or 5 laps before a spin handed the lead back to AJ Knickel, only for the number 20 to spin himself. And that gave Marcus Snow the lead briefly, and then we started into pit stops. Michael Dimitrov was the leader at one point as well. And right now, the way things are looking, Dimitrov has a 16.5 second gap to make up between himself and our race leader, who you see on the screen again, Marcus Snow out of North Carolina. And Snow looking like he's just navigating that double left-hander as gently as possible. Still able to try and build up some speed here at this very tricky Circuit of the Americas, coming through the triple right-hander now. Down into 19. And it looks like he's in for a pit stop now too. So, looks like things are going to go ahead and cycle right back with Michael Dimitrov reclaiming the lead. And he's got himself roughly a 2-second lead over AJ Knickel in second. Yeah, 1.8 the gap appears to be as we begin lap number 10. That'll be 1/3 race distance the next time our drivers cross the line. And again, it's Michael Dimitrov holding on to that early lead. I think pretty well everybody in the field's made a stop now. And Snow, as a result of his pit stop, he falls down into 7th. I wonder if maybe there was an extra lap there for the number 14. Perhaps the undercut working a little bit more powerfully here at COTA than expected. But again, at the head of the field, it looks like that gap is holding here right now. Dimitrov onto the back straight. 2.5, his lead over AJ Knickel right now. Dan Cudmore there in third, about 4 seconds back of the lead. And again, we're kind of at the point of the race now where things have spread out a little bit. Obviously, COTA, one of the longer tracks, if not the longest track. No, second longest track. We do have Road America coming up. So again, one of the longer, more open tracks here that we'll see in the IndyCar Series. And as a result, you do have some separation on track. Matter of fact, this 1-2 battle that's got 1.6 seconds of separation, it was, until I happened to look at the board, was, I thought, the closest on the board as AJ Knickel goes wide out of 19. Guys having trouble handling here at Circuit of the Americas. It's gone through the field, really. As now we're 1/3 of the way through, on to lap 11. And we'll get our first look finally at the number 28 of Jason Butler. He's running in 4th place, but as you see, he's got another yellow car waiting in the wings behind him in the form of the number 3 of Darcy Ford. That'd be for 4th and 5th, respectively. This is easily the closest battle on the track right now. And again, even that's kind of around a second, maybe a little less than a second. But we'll have to see if Butler's able to kind of hold on to this position right now. Certainly he showed himself very well in the kind of opening qualifiers. In fact, he won one of the qualifiers, I believe. When did he finish second? I can't remember for the Indy 250, but I know he had performed very well. But a little bit of bad luck hitting him so far, as he's currently 10th in the standings. Does have a DNF to his name so far. But yeah, certainly qualifying very well. He is tied for 3rd in qualifying points with Michael Dimitrov, as well as Andy Hurdle, not racing tonight, enjoying himself down in Dallas. Actually not too far away from Circuit of the Americas, maybe a couple hours. But certainly an opportunity for Jason Butler to potentially move himself up the board. As it looks like, yeah, he's lost Darcy Ford here. I may have had my head down. I didn't quite see what happened there, but certainly Darcy Ford suddenly not on Jason Butler's tail anymore, as we're on to lap 12 of 30. And as we go back to the head of the field to check on Michael Dimitrov, there you see the gap between himself and AJ Knickel. It's about 2.5 seconds as they come through the S's here to end sector 1 of this lap. And as they go and do that, we'll go ahead and take our first Rampage Coffee rest stop of this race, and we'll be back in about, well, not even 30 seconds. So stay with us as our coverage continues on the Canadian E-Motorsports Network. Bringing it back for continued coverage of the IndyCar Classic at the virtual Circuit of the Americas. Again, it's Michael Dimitrov in the number 22 Menard Chevy. He holds on to the lead right now. 2.3 seconds roughly the gap between himself and second place AJ Knickel. Dimitrov turning in a good lap last time around, minute 51.7. And we'll see what the 22's got as he crosses the line this time to begin lap 13. And that one comes in at about a, well, no, I was going to say a 52.7, but it shows a 51.5 on the board. Meanwhile, AJ Knickel down into the 49s, so he's trying to eat away at that gap. But again, right now, Michael Dimitrov holding it on the track. And that, as we've seen so far, that is arguably the, well, not even arguably, it is the most important element of completing a solid race here at Circuit of the Americas. You got to keep it kind of on rails here if you want to have a realistic shot. And again, it's Dimitrov leading the way into turn 11. And now it's just a straight run down onto that back straight. See if we can get a cockpit cam to get some speed. And of course, the speed to be blocked by the tabs that we're looking for. Certainly, I would say around a couple 100 miles an hour at top speed. But again, certainly an interesting look at how Circuit of the Americas presents itself. Very tight technical section here. A lot of precision required to begin this third and final sector of the lap. And again, Dimitrov trying to hold on to it. Coming through 18 and 19, getting a good entry there, taking that car nice and wide out to the left. Same thing into 20, but if we take a look, he's going to have his mirrors full of green. And there you see the gap. It is absolutely melted away now. 0.4 of a second now separating Dimitrov and Knickel. As we begin lap 14, and we got some lap traffic here for our leaders to worry about. And yeah, not 100% sure who they just passed there. Didn't get a great look. It may have been Scott Kellum there in the, I believe, 21. I think that would be the defining blue characteristic of that livery. And Dimitrov now trying to hold on. He's got Knickel all over the back. Tried to go on the outside, but Dimitrov closes it off. Now they're into turn 11 and 12, or turn 11 again, down onto that back straight. Knickel might get a good run here down the straight. Dimitrov holding the position right now. Again, 0.3 of a second separating these two. Have to see if the 20 might try and get it done under braking. Has a look, but Dimitrov holds on for now. Knickel with a little bit of a slippery exit there out of 12. Might give Dimitrov a little bit of breathing room to end this lap. And indeed, through 16, that gap is up to 0.6 of a second. So Michael Dimitrov just trying to keep it consistent. Nice run out of 19. Swings it through, or that was 18, excuse me. Swings it through 19. Knickel basically right on the gearbox as they come out of 20. And you would think turn 1 would be a good setup here, and Knickel might go for it here side by side. He's going to have the inside line. And there it is, just about telegraphed it. Knickel's gonna hold on, he's got the line, and AJ Knickel is your leader once again of the IndyCar Classic. And you can kind of feel that coming over the last lap and a half. And finally it was turn 1 where the number 20 got it done. As a reminder, that was also where Knickel spun on the exit a little bit earlier to lose the lead. But now his comeback is complete, and it's the 20 back on top. And so with that move done, that'll give, again, the 20 plenty of clear track ahead. And we'll see if Michael Dimitrov's got an answer here. It's about 0.7 of a second the gap. Although it is closing, so it looks like Dimitrov might be a little bit faster on that back straightaway. But as I say, that didn't quite handle the exit of 12 properly, so that's going to open up the gap a little bit more. But again, here's your leader, number 20. He's won all 3 races so far, AJ Knickel out of Dartmouth, Nova Scotia. And looks like he could be on track for a 4th, but obviously a lot of racing still to go. They'll only hit the halfway point as they see the line on this particular lap. Knickel nurses it nicely through 20. And onto the start-finish straight. We are officially at the halfway point of this IndyCar Classic. Lap 16 now underway. And again, just a dominant lap there from AJ Knickel, getting back into the 49s. And that's roughly a couple seconds clear of Michael Dimitrov after that lap. 3.1 seconds was the gap. And again, the 20 finds himself in a very familiar position on track. As we'll go to a battle a little bit further down the field. Jason Butler trying to track down Dan Cudmore for 3rd. About a second separating these two. And this battle is about 11 seconds back of the race leader, AJ Knickel. And there again, we see Butler. He's in pursuit mode right now. There you see Cudmore in the 2 just ahead. Now that gap about 1.3, 1.4 seconds, somewhere in that ballpark. 1.4 to be specific if you look at the timing at the top of the screen. And this battle roughly 8 seconds adrift of Darcy Ford in 5th place. Ford again with that bit of misfortune after holding the lead for the first 4 or 5 laps of this one. But again, it looks like it's kind of settled into a bit of a pattern here now. Not really a whole lot going on in terms of full-on action and passing. Although it looks like we might have a potential scrap developing between Marcus Snow and Ryan Gibson, if Gibson can get a little bit closer here, about 2.5 seconds separating 8th and 9th. As Michael Dimitrov heads into pit lane. So this is now a fight for 2nd place. Dimitrov in for, I believe, his 2nd stop of the evening. And it looks like Dimitrov will come out in 5th. As again, we're just kind of scanning through to see if we can find a couple more battles here potentially. This is definitely the closest on track right now if you look at the timing. 1.9 seconds separating 2nd and 3rd. And they are 17 seconds drift of race leader AJ Knickel as it stands right now. And again, that 20, no real pressure on him here now. Looks like he is coming up on lap traffic, but certainly nobody harrying him from behind. And there's that 20 coming through comfortably in that double or even triple right-hander. And oh, contact! Knickel and Kellum come together. And AJ Knickel trying to get it back here. Kellum looks like he might have gotten the worst of it, and we'll have to see how much that gap goes down, as looks like Knickel's back up to speed as we now begin lap number 18. Gap down to 13 seconds. It was 17 or 18 there a moment ago. So Knickel losing a few seconds there after that incident with Kellum. And we'll have to see if the damage prompts another pit stop here for the 20. And certainly Dan Cudmore thinking perhaps the same way as he's come in. maybe looking at an undercut. Obviously 13 seconds, very ambitious for an undercut if he is thinking that. But now that puts Jason Butler into second, 14 seconds back of our race leader. And there again, you see the 28, not really a whole lot hassling him on the track. Darcy Ford a couple seconds back there in third. You were just seeing him in the shot. There he is just in the background as Butler comes into turn 11, able to hold that one through nicely. And a good exit obviously helps guys get to top speed a little bit quicker to begin this straight. And the gap there between Butler and Ford now 2.7 seconds. And Butler again with a nice exit out of 12, which is not the easiest thing to do after getting up to such a high speed. But it looks like the 28's holding on fairly well here. Meanwhile, we wondered if that incident involving AJ Knickel and Scott Kellum was going to have an impact on the 20. The answer is that he's built his lead out to 17 seconds once again to begin lap 14. So looks like all is well in the land of the 20 as we begin lap 19. And again, the 20 just absolutely zooming around here. Oh, but he goes wide. And he's into the gravel. Man, oh man, AJ Knickel, he's had a couple of adventures here already. But again, he's got enough of a gap that really it's not a huge concern at this point. Ty Higginbotham does unlap himself in the process. But yeah, a bit of an adventure there for the 20, proving that nobody's infallible here as Higginbotham gives way once again. But man, oh man, this is getting interesting here. But as I say that lead is back right up to 14.5 seconds again after dipping to 11 after that latest on-track adventure. Or off-track adventure, I should say. And again, the guy now chasing him is Darcy Ford as he's gotten ahead of Jason Butler. We just missed that move. Not sure if it was into 11. Butler might be trying to respond into 12. Not quite close enough. But Ford with a little bit of a wobble out of 12, so Butler might have a look on the outside. And we'll stay with this one here for a little bit. Butler and Ford battling. Ford holding on to the position for now, but Butler's got the inside line. And so as they come through turn 16, Jason Butler back up into second place. Again, a little bit of a bobble there from Darcy Ford on the exit of turn 12. And that opened the door for the 28 to reclaim the position he just lost. And both drivers, immediately after that bit of action, they're going to come into pit lane. And we'll see how much time they actually lose on this pit stop. It'll be their second stop each. And again, we'll see where they come out. I would say they'll slot right into those 4 or 5 positions, which would push Dimitrov back up into second, Dan Cudmore into third. And matter of fact, there it is, Dimitrov into second. Ford and Butler both out of their stops. Dan Cudmore passed them as well. And yeah, about as suspected. Ford and Butler rejoining in 4th and 5th, although the quicker pit stop goes to Darcy Ford and he gains the position in pit lane. So that's one stop and a little bit of heady strategy there from the 3. As we'll go back to our race leader, AJ Knickel. Lead is up to 36 seconds now, but it's worth bearing in mind. Don't believe he's made a second pit stop yet, and he spins again. AJ Knickel just not getting it right here. As certainly, you know, he's got the gap to make up that time, but certainly not holding on maybe the way one would expect. And that was out of 18, I believe. So we'll have to see how much longer that 20 can stay out as we head to lap 21. We're going to go ahead and take another Rampage rest stop. We'll see you in 30 seconds. All right, welcome back to continuing coverage of this, IndyCar Classic here at the virtual circuit of the Americas. And I swear I'm not getting emotional over this. It was just that little coughing fit before the commercial. Anyway, AJ Knickel continues to hold on to his lead here on lap 21. Though again, not the greatest exit there at a 12. But still holding on to it through 13 and 14. Now nicely through that left-hander, coming into the double or triple right, whatever you want to call it. Certainly a long way around, and that's where he got spun around on the previous lap. But again, more than enough of a gap to hold on, as that lead is about 31.5 seconds right now over second place Michael Dimitrov, as we now begin lap 22. And again, the closest in the way of a battle here that we're seeing on the track right now is Darcy Ford and Jason Butler. These two very familiar combatants, and they're squabbling over fourth place right now. Ford currently holding the position, but Butler certainly has acquitted himself well and is looking to get that place back. And they certainly traded positions a couple of times over the last few laps. Ford taking this position through pit stops, as a matter of fact, as we're now on lap 22. And again, this is definitely the closest battle, as they're going to come up on lap traffic in the form of Ty Higginbotham, and Higgy just peels off outside of turn 1 to let both drivers go. Classy move there from the Missouri native. Certainly not the 27's night so far, as he finds himself down in 10th. But again, Ford, he's holding on to the position right now. That gap is down under a second now, though. 0.8 of a second roughly separating these two. But Ford with a nice exit out of the last of the S's. Here, that should give him a good run into turn 11 before the long straight. Meanwhile, a little bit further down the field, I know we haven't really talked much about them so far, but look, we might have ourselves a bit of a scrap here anyway between Ivan Reynolds and Scott Kellum. Looks like Reynolds just got ahead of Kellum there a moment ago. And yeah, I'm not sure if Kellum spun somewhere or what was going on, but that gap is built up very, very quickly, as we're now on to lap 23. Wonder if this is ultimately going to wind up being a one-stop race here for our race leader, AJ Knickel. The majority of the field's made 2 or more already. But again, I think the 20's only been in the once so far. Ooh, did not realize that's what that did. So my apologies for briefly covering things up, as we'll get a sense of the speed that Reynolds is trying to carry through the end of the S's here. And it looks like Kellum has gone into pit lane again. And again, as Reynolds approaches turn 11, let's go right onto the cockpit cam. And we'll get a sense of the full run of the straightaway here from the 18. And you see that speed rising fairly quickly. Jumping up to about $170 there that time around. But again, it's a hard break into 12. And good job by Reynolds to hold the line. Meanwhile, there we go. We've got a bit of action now. AJ Knickel has made his final pit stop, or what I would presume to be his final pit stop. There he is. As we're coming to the end of lap 23. Knickel certainly stretched it a little bit longer than the majority of the field. And it's effectively a splash and dash just to get through these last 7 laps. So it should be a relatively quick stop here for the 20, and there he goes. And we'll see what the gap looks like here as Knickel comes out of pit lane, tries to get back up to speed. I think it's a single-digit gap now between himself and Dimitrov. As there you see Reynolds coming through, Dimitrov right on the back. So 1.8 seconds. This is potentially a little bit closer than I expected, and we've seen AJ Knickel kind of spin it a couple of times. So if Dimitrov can get up there and put a little bit of pressure on him, who knows? This one's not over yet by any stretch. 1.4 seconds the gap, up to 1.6, 1.8. Certainly AJ Knickel does have the speed to get around here. And again, back markers could play a role in this as well, as I think they're coming up on Mike Marini. And again, let's see what kind of speed Knickel gets through this straightaway. And again, he tops out at about 170, 171 as well. So that's roughly, I would say, the limit of these Indy cars. Obviously faster on the ovals, but I mean on this, purpose-built circuit like Circuit of the Americas, the limitations might be a little bit more pronounced. As Knickel kind of sweeps his way around Marini. Again, a bit of a tough night here for Mike Marini as well in the number 12. Finds himself down in 11th. And, Michael Dimitrov would love to get by him here with some relative haste, as he's seen AJ Knickel kind of get away from him again. Gap up to 3.2 seconds on lap 25. And Knickel coming down the hill. Now through the S's, yeah, that gap's around 3 seconds. But again, if Dimitrov can hang around, who knows what could happen. And there's, again, Knickel holding on. And it goes without saying, I've obviously been very impressed with what I've seen out of the 20 here so far in these opening 4 races. And really, how could you not be? He's built up the kind of gaps that most drivers would be envious of, to be quite honest. Meanwhile, a little bit further down the field, we'll check in on this lead battle here again shortly, but a little bit further down the field, Ryan Gibson trying to hold off Darcy Cudmore for 6th place. Gibby in that number 83 Chevy out of West Virginia. Of course, Season 1 NASCAR Series champion as well. And also a veteran of the various F1 series that we've had as well. Gibby, just one of those guys, you put him behind the wheel, he just loves to race no matter what the car, what the track. He's all in, is Gibby in the 83. And speaking of all in, Marcus Snow has gone all in and pushed himself up into 7th place ahead of Darcy Cudmore. Again, Snow led this race a little bit earlier, but ultimately it was not to be his day. Although again, Snow acquitting himself very well early on. Not sure if Darcy Cudmore might have had a little bit of a slip there. He's effectively, might be the last car on the lead lap, depending on where Cody Cudmore happens to be. And I don't have a good look there at the back, kind of basing it on lap times. I would say, again, 1:51 back as Cudmore runs wide and goes through the pylons. And my driver's ed instructor would have been absolutely rolling over at that site. And yeah, it's obviously a lot more difficult when you don't have a front wing the way the 15 is trying to navigate right now. And trying to go wide on Darcy Ford in 4th place. And, oh man, that got hairy. But Ford is able to get by with relatively little incident. And yeah, Cody Cudmore just trying to nurse that 15 back to pit lane as it is right now. And again, I would say at least a lap down at this point, as Ford had just passed him. But again, Cudmore just trying to get it around. Butler will go through on the inside. Keeping her safe out there, keeping it responsible. Nothing wrong with that picture whatsoever. Except, of course, the missing front wing. But in terms of responsibility and class, that's what I mean. Nothing wrong with that picture. And certainly AJ Knickel likes the picture he's starting to see right now. 4.5 seconds the lead now, as he's just begun lap 27. Michael Dimitrov still hanging in there in 2nd. Looks like he's got a decent car through the S's as he's able to shave some time off. Kind of between words there, as he's down to 3.5 second gap compared to 4.5 when they went into the S's. But it looks like AJ Knickel, for the most part, just has superior speed in the majority of the circuit. And there you see another example of it, just able to get it out to a $172 toward the end of the back straight, 11 connected to 12. But Michael Dimitrov not going away. 3.7 seconds now the gap. Thinking that one might get into the 4s, but of course it appears the 20 might be coming up on lap traffic here potentially again. And that is, I believe, Scott Kellum ahead. This is where these two locked up earlier, this exact turn. But it looks like things are going to be a little bit cleaner this time around. Kellum getting it through 20. And he's got the 20 in his rear view again as we go to lap 28. 3 to go. And Knickel just goes on the outside of Kellum through turn 1. And that's another driver cleared. That gap down to 3 seconds now. And of course, Michael Dimitrov will have to navigate the same back marker in the form of Scott Kellum here as well. And we'll have to see if he's able to do that. But meanwhile, again, that gap staying right around 3 seconds. As it looks like Dimitrov might try and find a way around Kellum here. Matter of fact, we'll take a look at it from the 22's perspective. And it looks like the move is done through turn 11. So Michael Dimitrov back in pursuit of AJ Knickel. That gap up to 4.2 seconds. That is a massive ask to try and get that done in 2.5 laps. But again, stranger things have happened. And And we could be in for an interesting finish. We're going to find out soon enough, certainly. As we'll take one last look through the field just to see if we've got any other close battles here. And again, we find ourselves in the middle of the field where we check in on Marcus Snow there in 7th. About a second and a half, 2 seconds back of Ryan Gibson for 6th. Again, this is easily the closest battle on the track right now. As again, just the nature of Circuit of the Americas, things have kind of spread themselves out a little bit, especially with just the 13 runners right now. Although again, with the track as difficult as Circuit of the Americas is, impressive that we've just had the one retirement in the form of Corbin McCauley so far. And certainly not looking to jinx things from my side. Let's certainly hope it stays that way. Let's hope the drivers who are still here are able to finish this one out. And certainly the guy who's very much looking forward to seeing the checkered flag, that'd be AJ Knickel here, lead up to 4.3 seconds now over Michael Dimitrov. And now extended to over 5 as they're on lap 29 now. And Knickel takes 12 neatly, which could have been problematic at other points in the race. But right now, I think it's just a matter of the 20 trying to get it back in. Here, trying to just make sure he stays on the track. Again, he's had a couple of adventures in this one, but ultimately he's had the speed when he's needed it and the control when he's needed it as well. As he comes through turn 20 once again, he's going to see the white flag this time around. And as he comes down the start-finish straight, we are now officially onto the final lap of tonight's IndyCar Classic. AJ Knickel building that lead out to 6 seconds now over Dimitrov. And again, certainly some opportunities for it to get away, but again, the gap was just built up that much, particularly in the middle part of the race where nobody could really do anything about the 20. Just superior driver, superior action here on the circuit. And again, the speed was right there with him when he needed it. So again, we're down to a 4.5 second gap roughly as Knickel navigates lap traffic. As it looks like he's got Cody Cudmore right ahead as he goes through turn 11 for the final time. And again, keeping that speed up, 173. I think that might be the highest reading I've seen here on that turn, or 11 to 12 straight. And again, from here, it's just a matter of keeping it clean if you're AJ Knickel through these last few turns. And if he's able to do that, that is race win number 4 locked up. And again, maybe not the tidiest, as he'd likely be the first to admit, but ultimately got the job done when he needed to. And coming through turn 20 for the final time, onto the start-finish straight, and for the 4th time this season, he's still perfect. He is the number 20 of AJ Knickel, and this one is done. He wins the IndyCar Classic. Michael Dimitrov will come home in 2nd place. And let's see, are we gonna get some victory donuts? I think we just might. And yeah, a couple of donuts here through turn 1. And doing it in such a way that he's not in anybody else's way. Always a classy gesture. As Michael Dimitrov, the birthday boy, comes home in 2nd. 13 seconds, I believe, is the final gap, or at least that's what it's showing on the timing charts. Now down to 12. Yeah, I thought it was going to be a bit closer than that, but we'll see how the standings ultimately bear out. Dan Cudmore comes home in third. A little bit further back, but again, it was, especially after the second stint, it was effectively a one-man show once again. And again, that one main character, he's come out to play and he's been playing hard. So again, Dan Cudmore finishes third. Darcy Ford, it appears, comes home in fourth. Jason Butler rounding out the top five. And Ryan Gibson holds on to sixth, with Marcus Snow coming home in seventh. We'll make that official now as Gibson crosses the line. And Snow doing the same, although it's temporarily listing Gibson ahead of Snow, as not sure if, I think that might have been Butler wide there in turn one. And we'll go ahead and get our final timings here shortly, and there it is. 3.5 seconds separating Dimitrov, or AJ Knickel and Michael Dimitrov at the head of the field. Dan Cudmore comes home third, another 36 seconds back, or 36 seconds back of the winner, I should say. Darcy Ford in fourth. Jason Butler rounds out the top five. Marcus Snow there in sixth. And so I wonder if there was maybe a 10-second penalty applied to Ryan Gibson at the end of the race. And yeah, that gives Snow sixth. Gibson there in seventh. Darcy Cudmore eighth. And I think Ty Higginbotham ninth. Cody Cudmore in 10th. Didn't get to see the last three, but it looks like we did just have the one retirement in the form of Corbin McCauley. So again, that's that for tonight. We'll take one last break and we'll set things up for next week. So stay with us just a couple minutes longer. All right, we bring it back here to wrap up coverage of tonight's IndyCar Classic. And again, it's AJ Knickel just extending his lead at the top of the charts. And now we come into a bit of an Indy block here over the next couple weeks. So next week we hit the halfway point of our season, and it'll be on the Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course. That'll go down next Tuesday, April 26th. Same time, same place, right here on the Canadian E-Motorsports Network YouTube channel. And from there, May 3rd, we are going to find ourselves with yet another Indy 250, and that'll be the kickoff to the second half of our season. So hard to believe we're there already. Maybe it's just the fact that I was out for a little bit, but again, we find ourselves there now. And, you know, things have really kind of established themselves. There is a bit of a pecking order in place now. And we'll have to see if the next couple weeks at Indy change things at all. But for now, we're going to go ahead and sign off. So for the entire Canadian E-Motorsports Network team, my name is Jordy Garaher. I hope you've enjoyed tonight's broadcast. And yeah, hopefully we'll see you for a couple more weeks of racing action at Indy.